performing really kind of did save my life in like the cheesiest way possible. Like there's no way around it. It really did. And writing jokes about my parents' death was like therapeutic for me. Like people who have death and understand death like those jokes. But again, I was like 25 trying to tell jokes about dead parents to an audience being like, I still have them and I like them. But I do write a lot about trauma and I just frame it in a way that makes it funny. But that's me. I don't think all comedians are like, you know, wrought with sadness, but I am.
Well, that makes me wonder, Nava, you talk a lot about losing your mom at 30 and how much it's affected you in the years since. And I'm wondering, you're a writer, you are working on screenplays and things like that all the time. Have you ever thought about writing about your experience?
Yeah, we have a concept. No, but so Nicole, I relate to this to some degree. So how I feel or felt was like I was not prepared for how hard it was going to be because I had known people who had lost parents and loved ones, but I felt like they didn't really share that it was so hard. Like, people were like, I'm okay, you know, the first month was hard, whatever. And for me, it was like the first 18 months were like brutal. Like I could like, you know, I had to function, but I could like barely function. And I just was like, why wasn't I prepared for that? I don't know. That was just how I felt. Like I was like angry that no one had prepared me. And I felt like there was no support in my community. Like, so that was part of my experience. So that feeling of like, people should know that it's really hard. They should be prepared for that. And their communities need to support each other because it's so hard. Like you need the support of your friends, your community. People need to show up for you. And when you're in that, I had this idea for I'm just going to give my elevator pitch for this movie where there are like two identical sisters and one of the twins drowns. And you sort of explore how that like affects the family.
And that's where it begins.
that is actually where it begins. And so the movie begins there.
This is gold. We can't give away our idea. She's not even lying.
I know.
Because here's the thing.
Nobody will buy it because there's a dead kid. Basically, everyone's like, this is, and it has more. We pitched this to one network and people in the executives cried. Like they literally cried in the pitch meeting, and they're like male executives were crying.
Like, why the fuck would you?
Well, and it was supposed to be a kids show, right?
It's a kids movie. It's a family movie. It's actually very sweet. Anyway, but I can't give away the whole thing. But it's sweet, and it turns into like an adventure story to some degree, but also like a grief story. And this like one executive was like, "We're so honored you brought this to us." Like, but no one will buy it. So like, it's a dead kid. We can't sell that. You know. And I'm like, why not? Why can't you sell a story about a dead kid? Like people lose their kids.
I don't know.
That happens.
You know.
Casper the Friendly Ghost is a whole franchise about a dead kid.
So true.
But it's not really though. It's not really honestly looking at death at all, right?
No, he's just this hot ghost.
Oh my God, Devin Sawa. Oh, he was so hot. Did you see the original cast?
Wasn't it Devin Sawa?
Yeah, my first like one of my first movie crushes was Devin's for the 10 seconds that he appeared in Casper. I was like, oh my.
You and 30 million other people.
Yeah.
When you said people, there's no support after death, you're correct. And people don't realize, like people for the first month or two are like, anything you need.
Yeah.
Here's a casserole. My thoughts are with you. She's in a better place. Da, 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 da. And then after 2 months, all those people who were there suddenly are not because they have to go back to living their own lives.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most jarring things I think I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
It was so strange that like, and like at school, take all the time you need.
And that's 2 weeks. And that's what we
2
mean.
Weeks. And then you're back at school taking tests and stuff. And I'm like, I don't really care about multiplication. I have no mother. You know, and nobody, finally somebody was like, you need to go to therapy. And Miss Fortunato was my guidance counselor at the time. And she really, really took an interest because I stopped going to class and I would just go to her office and be like, I have problems. And she's like, you're just telling me about a movie you saw. And I was like, yeah. I think I just needed a female adult to be a mother. And that's what I was looking for. But she was the one who took me to therapy. So she went above and beyond her job. So I'm very, very grateful and thankful for her.
That's amazing. just one last thing on that is that the other thing I found, and I hope this didn't happen to you at 16. Like, I hope people would be more compassionate. But I found at 30, everyone's like, why aren't you over it yet? Like, after 2 months. I feel like that was the grace period. And it was like, after 2 months, if I still look like I'm upset, if I have to like excuse myself from a meeting to go cry. I did that once. Someone walked out with me, which was already like so upsetting, like not good, and was like, why are you still so upset about this? She's in a better place.
No.
Why don't you accept
people
that?
Love
And I was
shit like that. And
I
it's
was
like,
so
how
mad.
do you know it's a better place?
Yeah.
Why isn't the better place with me? Yeah, it's a lot of people being like, buck up and be strong. And it's like, well, I don't want to be strong. Like, I'm going through it.
Yeah.
It's also just, I don't know, that's intensely hypocritical. Obviously.
Yeah.